So here's the first example. It says determine the values of x that satisfy the given equation. And the emphasis on values is just because quadratic equations always have two solutions. So there are always going to be two values of x that satisfy this equation. Some cases the values are actually repeated, sometimes they're distinct, but more on that later. So we have this quadratic equation and we just need to solve the equation. To solve this equation, the almighty formula can be used. Note that this is an equation of the form y equals ax squared plus, well, I'll write it down. I'll do it this way. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals y. Same thing as y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, but it's for the case where y is 0. That's what we have here. So what I've done here is I've just written the general form, but instead of c, I've written c times x to the power of 0. Why? Because x to the power of 0 is 1. C times 1 is c. So c is the same thing as c times x to the power of 0, and you see why this manipulation is useful. So instead of y is equal to, or let's say instead of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, I've written ax squared plus bx plus c times x to the 0, because x to the 0 is 1, c times 1 is c, so it's the same thing. So this equation here I've now rewritten as 1 times x squared, because 1 times x squared is x squared, so this term is represented here, plus 4x plus 4, and here we have 4 times x to the 0 again. 4 times x to the 0 is the same thing as 4 times 1, which is 4. So I haven't broken any rules. So the general form of a quadratic equation is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. For the case where y is 0, is simply ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, which is the same thing as this equation you see here. So this is the general form, and this is the equation we were given. I've just rewritten this equation in this form, and I've rewritten it in this form so that you can easily identify the a term, the b term, and the c term just by comparing the coefficients of the variable x in its different forms. So by comparing, let's put it this way, the coefficient of x squared in the general form is a. The coefficient of x in the general form is b. The coefficient of x to the 0 is c. And if you look at the equation we're given, the coefficient of x squared is 1, the coefficient of x is 4, and the coefficient of x to the 0 is 4. So it's very easy to spot that a is 1 for the given equation, b is 4, and c is 4. So coefficient of x squared in the general form is a, the coefficient of x in the general form is b, the coefficient of x to the 0 in the general form is c, and then in our given equation I'm just going to write the coefficient of x squared, which is 1, the coefficient of x is 4, and the coefficient of x to the 0 is 4. So why is this useful? Well, in order to use the quadratic formula, which is what you see here, just this simple equation here, to determine values of x, one just needs to know what b is. So that's b again, a, c, so that's a again. So you just need to know the values of a, b, and c, and you can easily determine the values of x. So using the almighty formula, or the quadratic formula, I know that x is equal to minus b, which is minus 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, so that's 4 squared minus 4 times a is 1, times c is 4, all divided by 2a is 1, so 2 times 1, which is simply 2. So just keep your eyes on the ball. We are trying to determine values of x that satisfy the given equation, and we've used the almighty formula, and we have this equation, so we can just simplify this and get valid values of x. So simplifying gives x is equal to minus 4 plus or minus the square root of, what's 4 squared? 16, minus, what's 4 times 1 times 4? That's 16, all divided by 2. So that means x is equal to minus 4 plus or minus, what's square root of, well, 16 minus 16 is 0, so that's 0. So the square root of 0 is 0, so it's essentially minus 4 plus or minus 0 divided by 2, which can be written as x is equal to minus 4. So I'll take the plus case, minus 4 plus 0 divided by 2, and the other case is the minus case, where it's minus 4 minus 0 divided by 2. So note, I have minus 4 plus or minus 0, so I first say minus 4 plus 0, and in the other case I say minus 4 minus 0. So what we have here. So this gives x equal to minus 4 over 2, which is minus 2, and the same thing here, minus 4 over 2, which is minus 2. So in this case we have the solution as x is equal to minus 2, so we have a repeated root, a repeated solution to the equation. So the given equation is x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 0. So now if you think of this as the equation, well, the version of the equation y equals x squared plus 4x plus 4, what we've done is we found out the root of this equation, i.e. the solution to this equation when y is 0, which is the solution to this equation. So the solution to this equation when y is 0 is the solutions to this equation when y is 0 are the roots of the equation. The solution to this equation are just the solution to the equation, and we found that the solution is just x equals minus 2 repeated. So what I'm going to do is test the validity of our result. So when x is minus 2, what's the left hand side term? Well, the left hand side term is equal to minus 2 squared, so that's minus 2 squared, plus 4 times minus 2 plus 4, that's the left hand side, and that's equal to 4 plus 4 times minus 2, so plus minus 8, which is the same thing as minus 8 plus 4. 4 minus 8 is minus 4, minus 4 plus 4 is 0, so left hand side is 0. What's the right hand side when x is minus 2? Well, the right hand side of the equation is just 0. So the left hand side and right hand side match, which means that x is equal to minus 2 is a solution to this equation. Here's another example. We're required to determine the values of x that satisfy this new quadratic equation. So the given equation was 2x squared plus 2x minus 112 equals 0. And that has been written in this form. So 2x squared plus 2x, instead of minus 112, written plus minus 112. You know that plus minus any number is same thing as minus that number. So I'm saying plus minus a, same thing as minus a. So this is the general form, ax squared plus bx plus c, because c times x to the 0 is same thing as c times 1, which is c. And that's the same thing we have here. Instead of minus 112, I have minus 112 times x to the 0, which is same thing as minus 112 times 1, which is same thing as minus 112. So no rules have been broken. So I'm just going to write down the coefficients of x squared. In the general form, the coefficient of x squared is a. In the given equation, the coefficient of x squared is 2. In the general form, this general form of quadratic, well, a general form of quadratic equations, the case where y is 0 for the actual general form, which is this form here. So the coefficient of x is b. Coefficient of x in our equation is 2. The coefficient of x to the 0 in the general form is c. The coefficient of x to the 0 in the given equation is what? Minus 112. So be careful, because you can see that the general form says plus c, where c is a constant, so it could be a positive number or a negative number. So plus c x to the 0. In this case, our c is a negative number, so be careful, it's a negative number. Now that the values of a, b, and c are known, the almighty formula, the quadratic formula, can now be used to solve the given equation. So let's do that. So I'm just going to replace b with 2, I'm going to replace a with 2, and I'm going to replace c with minus 112, and that gives x is equal to minus b, where minus b is now going to be minus 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 2 squared minus 4 times a is 2 times c minus 112, all divided by 2a, so all divided by 2 times 2, which is, well, I'll write 2 times 2 there. So simplifying to determine the values of x gives minus 2 plus or minus the square root of, well, I'll say 4 minus, what's 4 times 2 times minus 112? Well, that's minus 896. So you can easily check that with your calculator. All divided by 2 times 2, which is 4. So this gives x is equal to minus 2 plus or minus the square root of. So 4 minus 896 is the same thing as 4 plus 896, which is the square root of, well, which is 900. So we have the square root of 900. All divided by 4. And this gives x is equal to minus 2 plus or minus the square root of 900, which is 30, all divided by 4. So from this, you can say that x is equal to minus 2 plus 30 divided by 4 for one solution, and for the other solution, x is equal to minus 2 minus 30 divided by 4. So this is x is equal to 28 over 4, which is 7, and this is x is equal to minus 32 divided by 4, which is equal to minus 8. So now let's test our solutions. I'll just test one of them, and you can test the other one. So the equation was 2x squared plus 2x minus 112 equals 0. Now, for the first solution, when x is 7, we need to check what the left-hand side term is. When x is 7, the left-hand side term of this equation, when x is 7, the left-hand side term of this equation is 2 times 7 squared plus 2 times 7 minus 112, which is equal to 2 times 49 plus 2 times 7, which is 14, minus 112. And this is equal to, what's 2 times 49? 98 plus 14 minus 112, which gives 98 plus 14, which is equal to 112. So minus 112, which is 0. So the left hand side is 0 when x is 7, and the right hand side of the equation, so I'll just note it, this is the equation we were given. When x is 7, the left hand side, so the left hand side is 0. When x is 0 as well, x is 7, the right hand side is 0. As you can see, the left hand side and right hand side term match, so you know that x equals 7 is a valid solution of the quadratic equation. So a home test the validity of x is equal to minus 8. You find that the left hand side and right hand side also match. One last thing I would like you to note is that not all quadratic equations are in terms of the variable x. So this is a quadratic equation. A, B, C are constants, but the variable is x. You can have a case where the variable is z or p or q or any other letter, but the quadratic formula is still the same, because all it says is the value or the values of the unknown variable is simply given by minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So the left hand side term of that quadratic formula is just referring to the unknown variable in your quadratic equation. So just keep note of this. The right hand side is still the same, minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So remember this formula and just note that not all equations are in terms of the unknown variable x.